Right, good evening. We need to start with electing a chair. So can I please take nominations for a chair for this council year?
Can I nominate Councillor Pressel as chair?
And I will second that.
Are there any further nominations? Councillor Pressel, so Councillor Pressel, you're elected as chair for the year. So if you'd like to move up here, thank you.
So are there any nominations for vice chair, please?
I nominate Lizzie Diggins. Councillor.
I'll second that. Any further nominations? Okay, Lizzie, then you're vice chair, congratulations. And we then have apologies for absence. Yes, Hannah?
Councillor Smoton sent apologies and Councillor Jafari Mabini sent apologies, but might be attending online.
Okay, thank you. And any declarations of interest? None, okay. And then we now have the appointment of independent persons, and you had an extra report a couple of days ago, or was it yesterday?
Yeah, the supplement was published yesterday, so you have that
Yes.
as a second document.
Yes. So we're asked to recommend council to authorise the monitoring officer to reappoint Chris and Andrew and to appoint these 4 new people. Congratulations to the officers for managing to advertise in such a way that we get 4 excellent applicants, all of which were appointed. It was amazing. I had the privilege of being on the interview panel for all 4 of them, so I was terribly pleased. They just got better and better. You know, I started off giving them full marks and then they got better, so I didn't know what to do. But that's very good news. So I hope we'll all get to know all of them in due course. So are there any questions on this report, please? Judith.
I just got one small question about point 13, which says it carries a modest financial burden.
Councillor, do you mind just putting on your microphone, sorry?
Point 13, which says that the recruitment of independent persons in 2025 carries a modest financial burden. I just wondered if that could be clarified a little bit.
Certainly, and through you, Chair. So that would be the advertising budget for this. On this occasion, we put the advert on LinkedIn, and that would obviously cost something. I don't have the figure to hand, but we put that in there in case we have to widen the net for other websites or other areas of recruitment to get advertise the independent persons role. But as I say, we put it on LinkedIn this year, and obviously we got 4 candidates for it.
Any other questions on this report? Okay, so do we agree the recommendation? We'll send this to council. Everybody agrees. Good, thank you. And then we move on to item 7. This is, no, 6, the member training update. Now, it's a bit longer and perhaps more controversial. We're asked to note the report, but are there any questions, please? Yes, Naomi.
I, as I did before the meeting, just wanted to raise with officers that I, having sat through the 6 hours of licensing training, feel that it is excessive, particularly for people who are on the licensing committee for consecutive years. And so would it be possible for wonderful Josh, who does an excellent job, to consider doing a refresher training? If the 6 hours is 100% necessary, could there be a refresher training of a shorter period for members of the licensing committee who have done the 6-hour training before? Because it's not the type of committee where you do the training and then you're not sort of actively using your knowledge of that training throughout the year. You sit on subcommittees and you're looking at the policy. And so I actually felt like I remembered the vast majority of what was being covered. And it is obviously a very long time. And then slightly contrary to that, I thought it was slightly strange that there was nothing on street trading. And apparently that's because the street trading officer doesn't want to do any training. And so I would just say, could we maybe have a bit of training on street training and less, not 6 hours on the other one.
Thank you, councillor. And the chair, just to respond that I can take those comments back to Joshua, just to reaffirm that the training course can be slightly longer than probably is necessary. However, I will say that is a comment that has been reiterated before to our colleagues in licensing, and they do want to make sure that all members on the committee are aware of the regulations, but also our policies. But so we can take that feedback back. In terms of refresher training, one of the conditions that I've spoken to Joshua about in terms of the courses is to make sure it is standardised across all the members on the committee, regardless of how many years they've been on the course. It's very similar to what we do with planning, where we do have a standard course every 2 years. We don't offer, I suppose, refresher courses for those members who've been on it previously. In the report, you do not see that we did have a planning training session this year. It's not mandatory, it was a refresher, but that's because we didn't have any elections. But again, it's something I can take to Joshua, but I don't expect he will be receptive of a refresher course, because he will probably look at it that he's still use of officer time to produce 2 different courses. In terms of street trading, yes, I can definitely take that back to him because...
Not him, that's the issue. It's a different...
No, I understand.
Yeah.
But in terms of designing the outline of the course, it is definitely I can take to Joshua in terms of getting something put in and probably hoping that the officers responsible will actually do something as part of the wider training.
Yes,
Through the chair,
Yes.
sorry, can I just come back?
Yes,
quickly?
please.
I would like it to be said that to Josh that he does deliver very high quality training and that he is always excellent in the licensing meetings. I think he's an excellent officer, so I don't want him to feel bleak about the fact that I want less of his training.
And I'd like to back up the question about street trading. It's a big problem in the city centre, like every day, especially at weekends. So it'd be good if we understood what we can and can't enforce. Any other questions on this report, Judith?
It's just a sideways question relating to item 7.
Sorry.
It's relating to item 7 in part, about the summary of complaints. Given that a lot of complaints are about social media,
We're not on complaints yet, we're still
No,
on
but would
training.
social media training, this fits in straight, would social media training be appropriate for members to try to stem some of the complaints that are being issued against members? Because I don't see anything about social media in the list of training options.
Good point, yeah. Excellent suggestion, I think. What do you think, Jonathan?
Yeah, it's something I could definitely take back to officers. I believe that was something we potentially were looking into last year when we were doing the induction for the new and returning members. But it's definitely something we can take back and speak with officers to hopefully deliver a session at some point. I'm not going to make promises because I'm not sure, I say off the top of my head, which team would be responsible for that. And obviously don't want to commit to saying we'll do it and then be done in capacity. But it's something I can definitely take back and speak to my colleagues
Yeah.
here.
We have had it in the past, I think. Has he?
Yeah, I was going to say that I think it's a really good point, but I felt like I attended the code of conduct training this year, and I felt, and as actually I think is a strong point of that training, they do. So I get terrified when the camera sort of automatically zooms in on my face. But I think that it is, to my recollection, covered quite well in there. But I guess maybe that would be the natural home for it, and maybe that could be, maybe that it could be elaborated on a bit further in the code of conduct training, especially given that your comment related to code of conduct. I don't know if others
That's
agree.
a good point, yes. Right, Max, are you up to where we're on the item about training?
Yeah, apologies for being a few minutes late.
Okay.
Is there a copy for me?
Yes. So anything else about the training report? I actually wanted to ask about paragraph 2, 2, and then little 2, where it says compulsory planning training It then goes on to say in 8 and 9 that it's not compulsory. So it's just a little bit contradictory. And then I also wondered, looking at the list of complaints in the next item, there are several about parish councillors, and I wondered if there's any way we could require parish councillors to have training on the code of conduct. Probably we're not allowed to, but I just thought I'd ask.
So through you, Chair, the first point about planning training, we are required within our constitution to hold it every 2 years. So that is compulsory for all members. So the next round will be in 2026. So this year, as I've said earlier, we offered a voluntary refresher session. And as I said in the report, those members who didn't attend last year and the new members who've been elected since May 2024 had to attend, because if they wanted to sit on planning committee, then obviously they needed to receive some form of planning training.
Yes.
So next year we would be expecting that all 48 members who sit on this council will have to attend a planning training session. So in terms of the point within the report about reduction of allowances, this year it wouldn't apply to any member because all 48 members have either attended the training last year or have attended the refresher this year. Your second point.
But could we just perhaps say in 2(2) compulsory planning training for new councillors this year or something? Because it just looks rather strange to have it contradicting itself. And my second point was about parish councillors.
Yeah. So the parish councillors can attend. It was rolled out during the last code of conduct training session, with some choosing to attend, and we are hoping to invite the parish councillors to a third session that myself and the monitoring officer are hoping to host at some point in the year. In terms of it being compulsory, that's something I would need to look into.
Yeah.
But it is, as I say, it is something we have been recommended to do, and it's something we will be extending to all parish councillors, with the hope that they will attend, because obviously the code of conduct does actually apply to them as well.
It'd be really good if we could make it compulsory, because I bet the ones who cause us problems don't come to the voluntary code of conduct training. Any other questions on this report about training? Right, please thank the officers very much for organising the training. It's very much appreciated. And then the next item is item 7, and this is about complaints. We have to note the report, don't we, for item 6? Yes. So we note the report, thank you. Then item 7, here as well, we just note the report, but I bet there are some questions. Anybody want to ask anything about this? It does show the perils of social media, doesn't it,
Yes.
Lizzie?
No, it's fine. I thought I turned it off. I guess there's just a question around, I can't, maybe I'm wrong, but this does seem to be an especially long list of, especially ones that are still open, which is I assume what's meant by ongoing. Is that adding sort of additional strain to the monitoring officers team and democratic services team? Are there any steps or being taken to mitigate it? And finally, I guess, are there any cases where we're then struggling to meet our timelines in terms of responding to complaints?
I was going to ask about that as well, Jonathan.
So your first point, which about, yes, there are a few cases ongoing, but the reasons for that obviously is capacity in terms of making sure the monitoring officer and the deputy monitoring officer have capacity to review the cases and speak with independent persons. As you've probably seen from the first report on the agenda, we've obviously had 2 independent persons up until hopefully by the 14th, when we will be officially appointing 4 additional IPs, which at that point we'll be able to spread the workload across all of our IPs, which will hopefully help in proceeding through the different stages. So that's obviously something we do need to look into, but there is peaks and troughs, of course, with any type of code of conduct complaints. There's never an art of when you're going to receive them. So obviously what you've seen here is quite a few that are ongoing, but obviously they can be complex. And obviously we need to work with our independent persons to make sure that we are making the right decision in terms of what the monitoring officer is, and obviously proceeding to any further next steps that obviously they advise and the monitoring officer agrees to. Just want to double check what your second question was. I'm going to try and write them down and then.
I thought it was all the same question, really. It was about how, can we speed up the process at all? Was
Yes, it was
Mm.
about I guess you answered it in the.
Mm.
You answered it in the first question, because thank you for reminding me. It was about whether that's having sort of impact, first of all, on sort of resource in democratic services and the monitoring officers and legal services team, but also the last point was, is it meaning that we're struggling to meet any of our time scales?
We are. In the local hearing that Max and I were part of, the subject counsellor, I think you call it, complained quite bitterly about how long it had taken. But then it turned out from the investigator that it was the subject counsellor who had kept not arranging a time to meet. So, you know, it's not always because of lack of capacity at this end. Sometimes it's other reasons.
If I can add to that, I think it is important to note that one of the reasons given for that was because it was meetings during the daytime when the subject counsellor was working.
Mhm.
So obviously we have our council meetings in the
Yes.
evening, and
Yes.
that might be something worth considering around the timeliness of investigations, is whether there is capacity
good
for them
point,
to take
yes.
place at different hours.
Thanks, Max.
Yeah, may I come in? Sorry, online.
Hello, nice to
Hi.
see you.
Hi, thank you.
Have you just joined us, Hosnia?
No, I've been here since 5 minutes past 6.
Oh, yes, I did see you, but I
Hi.
thought it was Hannah for some strange reason. Okay, so lovely to see you. Do ask
Hi.
a question.
Yeah, I wondered if, I think one of the issues is because, for example, with it seems like the volume of complaints, obviously there's quite a lot via social media. I wonder also if it's good for the public to know a little bit about the rules around, because obviously quite a lot of it feels like quite a few times when I've looked through complaints, the fact that the person is not acting within their role as a counsellor when they've made the post or made the comment or whatever is the most relevant part. And I wonder if the public, when they make the complaints, are aware of the rules around what our rules of conduct. So I just wonder if on the website where the complaints procedure is posted, if it's possible to give a little bit of guidance as to, because if that might reduce the number of complaints, because if quite a lot of complaints are not seen as when a counsellor is acting as a counsellor, then it might reduce the volume of complaints that are being made. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good point, except I think only one in this list was dismissed because it wasn't while the counsellor was acting as a counsellor, but I could be wrong. Do you have a comment on that, Jonathan? Or could you just pass it on?
I can pass the comment on from Councillor Jafari Marbini, but that is obviously one aspect of it, which you see in the report, is obviously when any code of conduct complaint is received, obviously we have to confirm were they acting in their capacity as a counsellor at that time, which obviously can be something,
Yes.
especially just on the point of social media, can be difficult to confirm in terms of public versus private social media accounts.
But the public might not understand that distinction. Any other questions on the complaints report? Yes, Max?
I'm not sure if this is quite the right item to raise this question, but because it came up around independent persons, I was curious about the diversity of independent persons, because many of the complaints that we receive pertain to protected characteristics around race, disability, gender, and so on. I was wondering if that was something that was a consideration.
So it's a good question. In terms of the appointments, I would say we have a good range of backgrounds, ethnicities, genders of who we are asking council to appoint. As I say, we do now have 6, or we hope to have 6 if council approve it. So obviously that, and they've all got different backgrounds in terms of ages, in terms of their experience with dealing with complaints in different sectors. So in terms of the backgrounds, in terms of how well versed they'll be. We do expect them to be a very useful resource for the monitoring officer to review the complaints and also assist her with coming to some form of conclusion and whatever next steps to take. So obviously that was taken into account when we are doing the recruitment, but obviously it would be down to the interview panel to obviously ask about their experiences and their experience in terms of what we require of them. And obviously from the interviews, if you've seen from the first report, we are requesting to appoint all of them because we do feel they will support the monitoring officer in ensuring the standards process is still robust.
Did you see the report yesterday, Max? Yes, you can see that there are 3 new women, 2 of whom were wearing a hijab. So that bodes well, I think. So we're very pleased about that. Anything else on item 7? No. Okay, item 8 is the minutes of the last meeting. Now, I wasn't here, but are there any comments on the minutes? Any corrections? Okay. So do we agree that the minutes are a correct record? Good, people who are here. Excellent. Okay, that concludes the meeting then. We just need to note the date of the next meeting, which I think is in November, is it? Or another meeting?
Yes, it is November.
Oh, good. Yes, brilliant. Okay. Thank you all very much for your attendance.